Hjärtligt välkommen och varsågod Peter.
Tack för det Peter. Jag vill prata engelska nu. Jag har försökt med svensk förut men det var inte så bra. De som förstår mitt svenska de är danska. We have now, I think we now take, you say, the next level in Oncology Venture. We have merged with MPI. We are one company, and meaning that we have all the algorithms for drug response prediction and also the drug development into one basket. We discussed our results with Liplacis, our most advanced product, with the Danish Medicines Agencies this summer. And this is why we actually now can say that we work to cure cancer, because that asks us to elaborate. We are working very, you can say, on very heavily pre-treated cancer patients and try to give them, you can say, prolonged survival. But if we can use our products earlier, we may be able to cure some patients. So that was basically you can say, the elaboration on the discussions that we had with the Danish Medicines Agencies was, if this is possible earlier, could you then cure some patients? So we are, you can say, we are decoding cancer. We want to target oncology drugs. My name is Peter Jensen. I'm CEO of the company. We are presenting here. I have two of my colleagues also. Klaus Friesenberg is down there, is our Chief Commercial Officer, and Ulla Bull is our Chief Operational Officer. I'll talk here today about financial highlights. I'll talk about Liplacis and 2X111. You haven't heard so much about 2X111, but those two products actually, you can say, represent new formulations, new products, but with very active content. Products that we know work, like cisplatinum, and that they are good, and we have optimized them by our response prediction. We'll also talk a bit about how we measure the effect of anti-cancer drugs, and then there'll be an overview and something about the news flow. So, by the merger, we now have 50 million shares and a market cap of 610 million. We have also been able to, you can say, come up with a kassekredit so that we have some extra buffer in our financial situation. I want to talk to you about the Liplacis and also what is Liplacis. It's a liposomal, it's a new formulation of cisplatin. So cisplatin was found in back in the 70s, and in Denmark we saw our sort of most famous Danish tävlingscyklist, Ola Ritter. He actually got testicular cancer and was cured in 79. It's a wonderful product for testicular cancer. It is more difficult to identify responders in other cancers. And we've seen, you can say, basically, somebody is called cisplatinum the penicillin of cancer. It's a very active compound, probably one of the most active compounds. But already, I mean, in sort of 10 years ago, we could see that there are actually, with those products, there are multiple intracellular targets, and there are multiple mechanisms of resistance. And Sten Knudsen, who invented, you could say, the algorithms that we're working on, he actually founded MPI, which is now Oncology Venture, in 2004. So at the same time as, you could say, this understanding of complexity comes into play. He's worked now for 14 years to prove that he's right. And basically, you can say, taking more complexity into the model than just thinking about what is the target of a product. The reality is much more complex out there, and this is what Sten Knudsen could work on. So with our DRP, we can actually, you can say, screen and look into the tumors of patients and look into the different variations, and there are thousands of variations. So we are talking about utilizing big data, utilizing a lot of information that is put into our algorithms. And of course, hope to get, you can say, treat the right patients with our product. So there are many products in development. It's about, you can say, only 5% of the products that look so promising. The very early products, when we talk about those products, it's only 5% that eventually will be approved. And it's not that we have to have a miracle product to have it approved. We had belinostat approved with a 26% response rate in peripheral T-cell lymphoma. If you can get 25 to 60 or 25 to 30% response rate, 20 to 20% response rate, we can have products approved. And you can also say that once they're approved, we also can, you can say, can get paid for the products. So if we could pick the right patients, we'll have a higher success rate in our drug development and more cost-effective cancer treatment. And this is what we use in a very, you can say, there's a lot of science behind it, but when it comes back to what is practice, it's actually very simple. We can, you can say, track the patient, find the patient that we want to look at. The biopsies are very often available. So that is in the middle picture there is a biopsy from the patient's tumor. And that biopsy has been put into formalin and paraffin and is stored at the pathology department. So even if the patient had breast cancer 10 years ago, that biopsy is still at the pathology department. Because when the patient relapses, if she relapses, you'll be able to compare with the original tumor, and the pathologist can store this for years. And we can today, with modern technology, we can read how is this cancer operating, and we can match with our product, and we can treat the patient. So it's quite complex. It is rocket science. There is a lot of science behind this, and we published this year. We published epirubicin, that we can identify who will benefit from epirubicin in breast cancer. This is the reason for our in-licensing of 2X111. We published that we can identify who are responding to cisplatin in lung cancer, and this is why we're developing the Liplacis program. And we have also several other publications, including our PARP inhibitor down here. So we've had cisplatin since the 70s, and it's been clear that there were many molecular mechanisms of resistance and sensitivity, and it was not before, you can say, our technology which actually can identify who's benefiting from this product. It's very complex, and you need to have a complex model to see who's benefiting. So when we look at it in lung cancer, we can actually look at patients who go through surgery. They receive cisplatin after surgery, and that can save their life because there may be tumor cells left. And here you see how we can, you can say, predict survival of the patients, and that we can see that if we go for the most sensitive, cisplatin-sensitive patients, we can also, you can say, use that technology to identify who will survive. And we use this technology in breast cancer, and we use it with liposomal cisplatin. So it's a new formulation of cisplatin that is able to, you can say, a little smarter than cisplatin. It opens, the liposome is being opened in the presence of the tumor tissue. So we know it's an effective administration, and then we basically will not give the product to all metastatic breast cancer patients. We'll only give it to the most likely responders, like the lung cancer patients. And another product is the anthracycline. We published this year also. Again, there's this discussion, publications, that identification of the subgroup of patients who will actually benefit to this product is difficult. It's a challenge, and we can use Sten Knudsen's technology to identify who will benefit from epirubicin. Is here in a prospective study, in a retrospective study in breast cancer patients. We looked at 800 breast cancer patients, and 135 of those patients received the anthracycline, and we correctly predicted who responded. Doxorubicin, this is a product, and it's one of the heavily used products also. A lot of patients receive doxorubicin today, and if we can identify the responders with our product, it's a hit. So you can say the idea in Oncology Venture is to in-license products that are active, and you can say identify how we can make them more active. We only have products that work, and the products are then being further developed. So we have the two liposomal products where you can say they include a very active compound, cisplatinum and doxorubicin, and they have new formulation that is, you can say, clever solutions, tumor targeting of cisplatinum, and you can say brain entering of the doxorubicin. We have proven in practice that we can make the product work, and I'll show you a little that we have actually shown that the liposome as such gives us a 25% response rate in breast cancer patients, and when we use the drug response prediction, we're up at 55% response rate in 9 patients. There is I think, opportunity for deals in liposomes. Here are 2 liposomal deals in 16 and 17 with a liposomal cytarabine and daunorubicin for AML, leukemia, and one for pancreatic cancer with very high numbers, as you see. In addition to the 2 liposomes, we have also, you can say, we started by in-licensing. It was almost our first product, Refolvin. It's a product that is active but has been abandoned many years ago, and where you can say that we are diligently developing it. We have a DRP that is active in our laboratory, but we thought that we would be in-licensing only products that were, you can say, abandoned from others. But then we got the last 2 products, our PARP inhibitor and our dovitinib, actually came directly from Big Pharma and gave us some completely, I said, unexpected new opportunities with very fresh products that are competitive, but you can say they need a competitive advantage with the DRP, and that is, you can say, both of them is in this field. The PARP inhibitor we have proven in practice. So we have a full pipeline of very active products, and I'll talk a little bit more about the Liplacis program. So we have screened patients with breast cancer in their tumors, and then we have included the patients that are in the top 1/3 and the middle 1/3 of response likelihood. And we didn't include the ones in the bottom. We thought they didn't have a chance at all. And I think we are right, because when you compare the middle third with the top third, you can see that the top third, they have a 25 weeks time before the tumor starts growing again. This is time to progression. The middle third only had 8 weeks. So we are identifying the patients that are most likely to respond to this product. You can say, how good is it? And we therefore also compared to the previous therapy that those patients got. And there we can see that the Liplacis gave a time to progression of 25 weeks. This is almost a half year. Those patients have had 7 previous therapies, so they're heavily pretreated. So it's not like it is patients that have received many different, you can say, products that are approved. And then when we compare with the latest product that they received, this is an approved product. The time to progression for that product, that is therapy number 7, was 14.5 weeks. So we can see that we can give those patients also a benefit in what you can call it time to progression. But I think the most important is that it's not time to progression that gives us the best data. It is that we get response rate. That is that we can actually see that the patient's tumor shrink. And this is heavily pretreated patients. Some of those patients never had a partial remission before. And here we have that 5 out of 9 in the top 1/3. I know this is not big numbers yet, but 5 out of 9 is a 55% response rate. The last product that was approved to heavily pretreated metastatic breast cancer patients had a response rate of 12%. So that is eribulin, that is, you can say, 1 in 8. So we now have a 55% response rate in this selected patient population. If we want to demonstrate that this is statistically significant, we need to have 20 patients in each arm. So we are now into something that really is what we hope for, is that if we can delineate the patients that will benefit, we can make small trials and move forward. So I just want to go a little bit about what is it that we're looking at. If you think about that, we're looking at response. And this is a scan of a tumor. It has a size of 1. So we say it's 1. And if there's progression, that means that we make a scan 6 weeks later or 12 weeks later, and the tumor is now, you can say, has increased 20% or more in diameter. We call it progression. If the tumor has completed, if there's nothing left to see, it's a complete remission. This is not what we hope for to see in these heavily pretreated breast cancer patients. But we saw partial remission. Partial remission is a reduction in 30% or 30% of the diameter. And you take that, it is actually 0.7 times 0.7 times 0.7. It is actually a volume reduction to 1/3. So those tumors have been significantly reduced. So this is the partial remission. This is why you can say, approval by the FDA to say we can demonstrate response rate. We had belinostat approved by a response rate of 26%. It was in 120 patients, and that was enough for the FDA to have the approval. We believe that we can have a very nice response rate with Liptasis in this patient population. We can also measure, the other one is to measure when is the tumor starting to grow again. And that is the time to progression. And that's another way of measuring, you can say, your benefit. You will, of course, would like to keep that as long as possible. But the partial remission is the, you can say, the easy part. So there are a lot of studies out there that has been, or products that have been approved by, you can say, single-arm studies. We have belinostat that I talked to you about before. We actually have here a liposomal vincristine that was approved with as few as 65 patients. So this is, you can say, our first wave for approval would be an American approval with a small, very focused trial. Later on, Europe with a more, you could say, randomized, bigger trials. We have the PARP inhibitor, and it's just a picture to show you that we don't have much data, but we have 13 patients, and we clearly could predict who benefited and who didn't. This is a blinded evaluation of response, where we have taken, you can say, 6 patients and 7 patients. So we have 7 patients that are not responding and 6 patients that benefit, and we could identify those patients. We had this as a presentation at this year's ASCO. I think there were 2,000 doctors listening to this, and I think this is because we have, you can say, a novel drug response predictor. The DRP is the, you say, this is the new kid in town. So we got Dovitinib from Novartis, and it's a huge product. I don't want to go into details, but we now hope that we can identify the patients that are not benefiting from Dovitinib. It was a product that went a par with sorafenib. It's been in 2,500 patients. It is a product that was abandoned by Novartis because they couldn't get superiority. We would be happy if we could identify those patients where the tumor grow, and we can get the patients into our approval. Novartis product is huge. This is the amount of product that we have right now. We got 1,900 kilos of product. So if anybody needs Dovitinib, you just give me a call. We have a lot. Dovitinib is interesting by another way. Is also that it is mentioned here in this list. And there is a product called lenvatinib. And we didn't know that when we in-licensed Dovitinib. But it appears that it's an important immuno-oncology product. And we saw now that, you can say, Merck made a deal with Eisai's lenvatinib, which is 5.8 billion. This is 89 times higher our market cap on a product that is very, very similar to Dovitinib. So of course, Novartis didn't know that when we got the product. We didn't know it. This is new opportunities that you see in a very fast-moving field. They got breakthrough designation in renal cancer and also got it in endometrial cancer. And this is data on Dovitinib in endometrial cancer. All those patients over here, they have a reduction in the tumor size, so we are quite confident that we have an interesting product here. It works in GIST tumors also. This is a patient with a tumor that was treated with Dovitinib, and a very good result. So We have, I think, a very interesting pipeline of products. We have a very interesting response prediction technology. And we, of course, also, I think, have a wonderful team that has brought this forward. I think I can see it, Peter, that I have to move forward. An experienced, proven team. We have a superior DRP technology, good portfolio of products, and I think a very, you can say, sizable creation of value potential. We're using the patient's tumor in our science. I just saw this yesterday from a Cancer Research UK, and there was this where he talked about that his fiancée she died of bladder cancer. So she gave her tissue to science, and I just want to basically show you here. We have 876 breast cancer patients in Denmark. They were helping us to identify that we can identify the doxorubicin predictor in breast cancer. We have him here, basically individual patients, and what is the likelihood that you will respond to a product. I think this is the future that we're looking on. We are not providing this as a service to cancer patients, but it's obvious that if we have a DRP program for the individual patient, so each individual patient here is a line going up, and you don't want to have the blue ones, they are not sensitive, you want to have the red ones, and you can see the products that you can benefit from. So this is, I think, how we can see it in the future, and of course I want to thank very much the women who partake in our studies, the 876 patients here. We now have 1,600 patients screened in our program. Thank you.
Frågor? Någon? Ja, ett ögonblick.
Maybe just, thank you by the way, maybe just to follow up on that last issue, what is actually your business model in the end? I mean, you want to bring some of drugs that you have checked out, but wouldn't the market ask for your system to be able to sell their products through your identification of who is who could be treated by them?
That's a very clear and precise question. Would we use this system for other things than drug development? And that is obviously what we want to do. You can say the first wave that we do is that we do develop our own products. I do think that we would at some time point be able to deliver what we call a personal response predictor for the patient. It would be a clearly, you could say, commercially viable, and also for everybody who has a family member with cancer to get a GPS for the individual patient. And I also think that at some time point we will have a collaboration with the Novartis and with the Pfizers because of the ability to pan out the responders. And this is I think this is the modern oncology where you're actually seeing artificial intelligence, you're seeing big data going in and creating that kind of information. But the product could be, the next wave of products could be the PRPs.
Tack för det, Peter. Någon ytterligare fråga? Nej. Något du vill lägga till, avsluta med?
Nej, jag är tillfreds. Nej, thank you very much.